think everything I say is not art? I am art.
And I'm Garfunkel. I don't know.
Oh, God.
Wait. I'm an idiot because Art Garfunkel is one person.
Hey y'all, I'm AJ Reyes.
And I'm Timothy Dailey-Valdes. And this is Can I Bother You?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I sounded a little squeaky there at first or something.
It was all good. Keep it all in. No, I meant internalize it.
If you would like to internalize the show, no. Anyway, if you would like to interact with us on social media, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Can I Bother You? And we would love to see you there.
Mm-hmm.
So, AJ, I have a question to pop today.
Oh, God.
Would you do me the honor of making me the happiest podcasting host? I almost said host. The happiest podcasting co-host in the world.
That's the full question?
Yeah.
No. Why would I want you to be a happy co-host?
Well, I was trying to make like a proposal joke, like, because, well, to pop another thing on you listeners, this episode is about weddings. Today we're talking about...
Keep talking.
Today we're talking about our experiences at other people's weddings. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the hideous. And... We already did the graduation episode, AJ.
Anyway, I didn't mean to time it that way, but I started doing the graduation song when you said the hideous.
Oh.
Anyway, I wasn't listening. I was so focused on on underscoring.
On singing Wagner and Elgar. Mr. Classical over here. Anyway. So yeah, today we're talking about weddings.
Yeah, expect Timothy to carry this episode because I don't know what to say. If you heard our marriage and children episode, you are sort of familiar with our stances on marriage. Timothy still thinks I might be in his future someday, and I will very much keep it far from my future. It's about where we
I'm
are.
pro-marriage, and AJ is anti-marriage, clearly.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah, it's also not accurate.
No, I was kidding.
Yeah. Used to be anti-marriage. Now... Still don't think it's right, but I won't stop anyone. In the past, I stopped plenty.
Did you know there's a word that means in favor of marriage?
What is it?
Pronubial.
Oh. I mean, I probably haven't heard that word before, but like all the sounds sound familiar. Pronubial. That makes sense. Like pronuptials.
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah.
If I did get married, there would be a prenup. There would be a prenup. I don't care.
We want prenup. We want
Prenup.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like support Kanye on this podcast.
Yeah.
That's popped into my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Say more though. You would get a prenuptial agreement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt. Granted, at this moment in my life, I really don't have much anyway. What are you gonna take from me? But it's mine.
Yeah,
I might have nothing, but
that's
that
fair.
nothing is mine. And yeah, because like there's no guarantee. It's not even because I think that if I were to get married, it will end, and it will end badly.
Sure.
It's just that like there are plenty of reasons why I don't want to get married. But one of them is all the paperwork that goes into it. And so I'm like, well, if we're going to do all that paperwork, I feel like if you're going to be the kind of person who does paperwork, you should also be the kind of person who is smart and enjoys planning, you know?
Uh-huh.
Because it just sounds like they all go together.
Yeah.
And if you're a smart person who enjoys planning, you know that you can't always know what the future will hold.
That's true.
So, you do the smart thing, and you plan for what might happen if you decide that you don't work together anymore. So, prenup.
I don't know that I would personally get a prenup myself, but I can appreciate the existence of them. It's just like insurance, basically.
Yeah. What would you do if someone asked you to get a prenup? Like, what if y'all had never talked about it and you're now engaged and now it's like, ooh, he's rich and his parents are like, you really should get a prenup, darling. And he's like, so, babe, I'm sorry, but they really want a prenup.
I think I'd probably be okay with it.
Of course you would. Where's the drama?
It's just, yeah, it seems like a source of like a lot of conflict on like, you know, soap operas, like movies and stuff. And it's not that I don't understand why, but I mean, it's just a formality, really.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. And I've never been in that situation. So who knows? I shouldn't. I couldn't swear that I wouldn't be upset about it, but I don't think I would.
Can I tell you something you might not want to hear?
What's that?
I think you will be upset about it.
Will?
I know that implied that it was going to happen. I've never seen the future because I can't do that. Normal humans can't do that, so I certainly haven't. But I think you would, just based on like our friendship, because I know there are things that like I wish I could come up with an example, but like I'll say something and it'll like hurt your feelings, and I'm like, that's just a thing, and like it hurt your feelings. I'm sorry, there's not an example, and this is an occasion when an example would be helpful, but like. I'll say something, AJ, like, and your response is like, well, we're friends, and it's like, I can just picture that, like, well, we're unfianced, like, we are betrothed, we're going to be together forever, why do you need a prenup?
Yeah, but I don't think of, I mean, I know that that's a very popular way of thinking about them, that like, oh, if someone wants to get a prenup, it's because they don't trust you or like they don't believe in the marriage or whatever. And I've never really seen them that way. So, I mean, it's not impossible that I'm wrong. I can't imagine thinking that someone wanting to get one would mean that they don't trust me or they don't think that the marriage is going to last.
Okay.
I just don't conceptualize it that way. But, I mean... I'm willing to admit that I could be wrong. I really don't think that I would feel that way. But who knows?
I really wanted to be like, I'd be pissed if someone asked me for a prenup.
Well, that was going to be my next question to you is like, well, you would want to get one, but what if it was the other person's idea? How would you feel about that?
I'd be like, what, you don't trust me?
Really?
Is this not a trustworthy face? What are you saying about my face right now? You know what? Maybe we shouldn't even get married. Leave your car and go. No, I don't think I'd mind. But again, I don't plan on ever getting married.
Right.
So like, we wouldn't even get that far. We wouldn't even get to a prenup conversation. They'd be busy begging for my hand. And I'd be like, no. You get the D, and that's it.
Something you said made me think of another thing. Oh, this might have been more relevant in the marriage episode. And maybe we should just get into wedding stories. So I apologize if we're like teasing the audience or something. That's not the word I mean. But
I think they're okay. Tell us more.
I want to hear your thoughts because I'm sure that you have strong thoughts on people, typically men, asking typically women's parents permission to marry them. Quote unquote permission. Or like, sometimes more like gently it's called asking for their blessing or whatever. What do you think about that?
I'm all for it. Women are objects and property, so men should really, like, you know, if you want to acquire it properly, you should ask. Otherwise it's stealing, and that's wrong.
I don't know why I didn't consider this eventuality. I did not think the misogynistic jokes were gonna come, and in retrospect, that's on me.
I think this is one of those things where I'm like, if both of you, both the people involved in this potential marriage want that, then I guess you both want that, and that's wonderful for you. I'm glad you're both interested and happy by the same thing. But I don't see why it should have ever been a thing at all. So why would we still want it to be a thing now? I can get wanting the family's approval. I also still think you don't need that either. But I can understand, like, not because you're if your whole thing is like, oh, well, no, it's not like I have to ask for her hand, but I just, I want to know the family accepts me. And I'm like, okay, well, couldn't they do that by showing up to the wedding? Like, couldn't you just, like, talk about it over dinner or something? Like, if you're at the point where you want to propose to someone and you still don't know if that someone's family accepts you, maybe y'all should date a little longer before you propose. I don't know. I've got a lot of things, but you know what? It doesn't really matter to me. It's whatever.
See, no, this is what I wanted, though. I wanted your honest, raw, intense feelings.
Yeah. Well, you got him. What do you think about it? Would you do that, or would you want someone to do that for you?
No, I used to think that it was sort of romantic. Like, I used to see romance in it. I don't know that I ever wanted to either do that or have that done to me. But I used to see the sort of, like, chivalry in it, I guess. But now, I think that before proposing, you and the other person should be, like, not sure that you want to get married, obviously, because then you wouldn't be asking. But I think that you should be sort of on the same page about, like, maybe someday like, I could see myself spending a very long time with you.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I don't see a problem necessarily with talking to the family before you officially propose. Like, I think if it's framed as asking for their blessing, I'm even more okay with that. Well, I mean, not that I don't know. I wouldn't even necessarily say I'm okay with asking for permission. I think that that's a little gross. But yeah, just like going to the family and saying, I intend to ask your child, your not child,
adult child,
your adult child, your offspring,
you're very legal,
yes.
Totally,
yes, to marry me. And I just wanted to let you know that. Or like, I wanted to know that you approve. Something like that. I think that that's perfectly fine. I don't know if I would necessarily do it or care if someone did that. But I would think it was very nice if someone went to my parents and was like, hey, I am going to propose to your son. And I just want you to know that. And like, I want you to be happy about that. And we can talk about that. Like, that, I think, would be very sweet.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of using any words that imply that you are looking for their permission or approval. But it totally makes sense to me to be like, hey, I'm going to pop the question. I just understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're excited. You want to tell everyone involved in your lives who you love, and probably anyone you can talk to. Like, I mean, so that checks out. But
I think it would be real sweet if someone asked my friends too. Like, if they, or not asked them again, but like went to them and was like, hey, I'm gonna, yeah.
Honestly, that makes more sense to me than going to parents, because I mean, everyone's relationship with their parents is different, but it seems like the most common relationship among adults with their parents is like, they talk on occasion. Every now and then they'll see each other, depending if they live in the same city or not, at least a few times a year. It seems like on average, people aren't like super close to their parents, even if they're not like estranged or anything. It's not like they're besties. It's more important to me that, and for this I mean approval. Like, you should get the friends' approval. Like, you can just tell the family, but the friends, the ones who are around all the time and have to actually deal with you, their approval is definitely good. But honestly, I mean, it depends on the friends and the friend group. But, like, I feel like there's a good chance that if you don't have the friends' approval, you're not there. You're already gone.
Yeah.
Now that we're like 15 minutes into the episode, let's go ahead and get to the topic. I mean, we've been talking about weddings-ish.
Yeah.
We were leading up to the weddings.
It's true.
Now the day has arrived. We're all excited. We're all running late. I have not been to many weddings, but I've seen a lot of movies, and I've never seen anyone be on time for their wedding. Timothy and I were talking before this. When if you and I only talked when we were recording the podcast?
That would be so sad.
We never talked outside of this. Anyway, and so he's been to at least 9 weddings, definitely more.
Yeah.
And I've been to at least 6 weddings, almost definitely not more than that.
I'm going to try to, throughout the episode, remember in my head all the weddings that I've been to and write them silently down on my phone. And then at the end, I'll try to give you a count.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it. And I think 2 of the weddings that I've been to, Timothy was also at those weddings. So, like, there's overlap. So really, not counting the ones where Timothy was also present, I've been to 4 weddings. And 3 of them were family members. And 1 of them I officiated. So, like, they weren't going to do that without me. I mean, I guess if you think about it way too hard, they probably could have gotten someone else to officiate, but they asked me specifically to get ordained so I could officiate them. So, like, I mean, they couldn't really have done it without me. Like, essentially, they'd be nothing without me. But I guess that's true of everyone.
Wow.
See, I pretend it's that I never want to get married. It's that no one will ever want to marry me.
Oh, no, that's not true.
I think it's true, and I don't mind. I only need one thing.
What's that?
Money. Y'all really didn't know what I was going to say, did you?
I didn't.
Anyway, how do we want to do this? Do we want to just start telling stories? What do you
Yeah,
want?
let's just get into it.
Well, you got a billion more than me, so you should go first.
Well, the first wedding I ever went to was the wedding of my mother and my stepfather. I was 3, so I only remember bits and pieces, but it was a lovely wedding. It was a very early 90s wedding.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was radiant. She had this beautiful, gigantic Texas hair and a very poofy, lacy, frilly, princessy kind of wedding dress. Oh, and the cake was delicious. It was, I believe it was cherry or strawberry, something pink. And it was like tiered and it had like columns holding the tiers up. It was very 80s again. Well, very early 90s, but really that part of the 90s that was still the 80s.
Yeah.
And I wore little suspenders and a boutonniere and a bow tie. And my stepdad wore a suit. A tuxedo, I mean. They were married by a man whose name I don't know, but he ended up going on to become the Lutheran bishop of San Antonio, I think. Neither my mother or stepfather are Lutherans at all. But as I've mentioned previously on the podcast, my mother did occasionally take me to Lutheran church, and I went to Lutheran daycare for a long time. But as you well know, I am Catholic, and my mother is Catholic too. But, you know, the Catholic Church frowns on divorce, and my parents did not get an annulment, which is a requirement for a Catholic divorce. So according to the Catholic Church, they're still married. And my stepfather isn't religious at all. And so they couldn't get married in the Catholic Church. So they wanted like a similar sort of vaguely religious ceremony. And Lutheran ceremonies are very similar to Catholic ceremonies. And so they had one of those in... It was actually at a recreation center that's part of a golf course. It's not a country club. I know I said in the last episode I've never been to a country club. That is still true. But anyway, it was very nice. I remember there was a playscape in front, and I loved that because I was 3. I do not remember this part, but it has been told to me many times. I was a very clingy child. So, you know, I don't know exactly what prompted this, but at one point during the ceremony, and I'm mortified to know this, but I just got out of my chair and I like ran up there and like, you know, tried to get picked up. And I think eventually, like my aunt, one of my aunts, oh, I've mentioned her on the show before and I don't remember what name I gave her. Anyway, she kind of pulled me back. And then like when it was over, she like let me run over to my mom. My mom picked me up and then they walked down the aisle with me. And so we have lots of pictures of that little moment. And that's like the moment that our little family like became
that's one of
official or whatever.
That's like the moment that I'm picturing in my head. That's the photo I can remember. Her holding you and them walking down the aisle. Although actually I don't think I realized they were walking down the aisle. I just saw them together and they were walking. And you were there. I guess I can understand why you might feel, what did you say? Mortified or something?
Yeah, just that I interrupted everything.
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't know. I bet that everyone there loved it. Like
it seems to me when the story is retold that people at the time thought it was cute.
Yeah, bitches beating shit up like that. Yeah, like I mean, like, oh look at the baby. Oh look, we're all happy at a wedding, and now the baby wants to be up there. Isn't it cute? Yeah, no, they liked it.
I was also 3, so I could like talk and stuff. I think I said something. Like,
I mean, you could walk up to them, yeah.
Yeah.
Had you done that at like 15, maybe not so much, but like 3 is acceptable.
But yeah, That was my first wedding. Not my first wedding. You know what I mean.
Yeah, no. You've been married so many times you don't remember your first one. My first wedding was my brother's wedding, actually. I've mentioned it before. I am much younger than my siblings. And, okay, so I didn't think about it until as you were telling your story and I was ignoring you, I was doing the math in my head, and I realized I keep thinking of myself as having been younger at my brother's wedding. But I think Farah was 3 or 4. Farah is my brother's oldest daughter, my first niece. And so she was either 3 or 4, so that would make me either 8 or 9 when it happened. In my head, when I was thinking about talking about it here on the episode, I pictured myself as smaller, but no. Anyway, I was the ring bearer. I remember it was the first time I ever wore a cummerbund, and I was like, what is this? Why do I need a wide-ass belt? And, like, it doesn't even hold my pants up.
That's such a funny but, like, true description of what a cummerbund is.
Yeah, like, it's my understanding... I don't remember if they explain it to me now, but as an adult now, I'm just like, is it just supposed to hide the part where my shirt and my pants meet? Like,
I have never actually known.
Like, what is the purpose of it? But anyway, that's like a memory I have as a child, because that's the first time I'd ever seen one before, and so, like, I could figure out the rest of my suit, but I was like, y'all, what the fuck is this? Little 8 or 9-year-old AJ probably didn't say that. I honestly can't promise you he didn't, but, like, he probably didn't. But anyway, I remember that, and... Farah also was acting like a child during the ceremony.
Wasn't she a child?
That's beside the point. There are certain occasions in which one must compose themselves better, Timothy.
Yes. Withdrawn.
But I remember she fell asleep during the ceremony. I think possibly in she was a flower girl, and possibly in one of the bridesmaids' arms. I can't remember for sure. I do know for sure she did end up in the audience at one point, like sitting down in the front row, I think with one of the aunts by marriage. I think that's kind of all I remember about it, though. I remember there were other kids there, and so I remember running around and playing with them up until it was time. And then at one point, I don't remember who found me, but they were like, "You're supposed to be dressed already," and I'm like, "Well, I'm a kid. You have to tell me what to do." Like,
you're supposed to be
like,
dressed.
Like, no one told me to go get dressed. How am I supposed to know it's time to get dressed?
Do you remember who said that to you?
No, but like because we didn't go in our wedding attire,
right?
So like, I'm running around with the kids in my regular clothes and my street clothes, and they're like, "You should be dressed," and I'm like, "Well, then someone should tell me." Like,
yeah, how would you know that?
I know, I'm like,
even if you knew that, why would anybody expect you to do that?
I don't know, but anyway,
that's wild.
That's when I finally got dressed, and that's when I was like, well, if y'all had told me sooner to get dressed, we'd have this cummerbund situation figured out already. But I don't remember much else about the wedding or the ceremony or the reception or anything. I remember my brother's wife's name. That might be all I remember about the thing, though. I don't remember who was there. I'm sure, family members, and, that's all I got. I don't remember who was in the wedding party. My brother's had the same friends since he was, like, I don't know, 10, so it was probably those guys. I don't know.
If for anybody who's keeping track at home, I'm up to 14 on my mental list.
Jeez. That's more than twice of how many I've been to, including the ones with you. I definitely almost said it's 10 times as many as I've been to without you. Because I've been to 4 without him. I think I said it earlier, but just in case.
What I'm about to say, it's not even really a story. I guess it's kind of a non-story. But, well, no, that's not quite true. Why didn't you just say it, Timothy? But you being the ring bearer made me think of this. I was invited to be the ring bearer for my father and stepmother's wedding, and I declined their invitation, and I really regret it. I didn't go to their wedding, and I really wish I had. I don't know how often they think about it, if at all, but it really bothers me.
Yeah.
I love my stepmother, and obviously I love my father, and it was never like I had a problem with her, or I didn't want them to be together or anything like that. I think it was similar to how in the marriage and children episode I talked about my original child reaction to finding out that I was going to have a brother and sister. I think it was just kind of like, well, what am I, a child deliverer? But like, obviously they wanted to include me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was very irrational, but I was also, 8.
No, yeah, no.
I think. So yeah. So I deeply, deeply regret that. At the very least, I wish I had gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have as. I mean, it still would have been a cool story, or it would have been meaningful to be a ring bearer, but for them. But at the same time, like, I just wish I had been there at the very least.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that. And honestly, I mean, I can't speak for your parents. I've never met that set of parents. But I mean, based on my extensive knowledge on being a parent and being married and having children, I can tell you that they probably don't think about it. And if they do, they don't take it personally.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't, but...
If you didn't talk to them now, then they'd probably be like, well, it started when he was a kid. But, like, since like, now you've seen them multiple times and, like, y'all check in every now and then, it's probably chill. I forgot that I was super excited to be the ring bearer.
Really?
I was like, hell yeah, I got a job in the wedding. You wish you were in this bitch. Rings in the house. But then when I was actually doing it, I was like, I don't want to be here. I was walking down the aisle holding a pillow with rings. What am I doing? Like, how did my life get here? Where did I go wrong? The main reason they asked is because I think I was the only little boy in the family at the time.
That makes sense.
I mean, my brother would have wanted me there anyway. My brother's always liked me for some reason. I don't get it. But, like, I hadn't even thought about it. But, 2 of the weddings that I've been to happened somewhere around the same time. So my first wedding was my brother's wedding. I think my second wedding was my sister's wedding. Mm-hmm. She is also older than me, which I've also mentioned before on the podcast. And I think I was 13, maybe 14 when they got married. They did it perfectly. They just went to the courthouse, got it done, and that was it. I'm conflicted. Like, if I ever get married, I'm not going to. I promise you. I just realized that I break promises left and right, so that means nothing. But the chance of me getting married is, like, almost non-existent. But if I ever did, it would either be the biggest assest wedding you've ever seen. I do mean that I will have go-go boys. There will be ass everywhere. Anyway, it'll be the biggest assest wedding you've ever seen, or I'm just eloping at the courthouse. Just, like, real quick. Let's just sign this piece of paper and move on. There will not be anything in the middle. It'll either be way over the top and way too big, or I won't tell anyone about it. But so my brother-in-law and my sister did the courthouse thing, and they did invite families. So me, my parents, my brother, and all the kids that we have. I think at that time, most of my nibblings were born. We might have still been short, like, 1, maybe 2. And then I think my brother-in-law invited his parents and siblings. But it was just courthouse. And I chose the cake topper. It was actually a, what's the word that I want? Like a joke one, or like one for like
a novelty,
or like for a bachelor party, yeah, a novelty one, because it was a bride dragging a groom. It was an ironic choice because while they both love each other very much, it seems that my brother-in-law wanted to get married more than my sister. I think my sister and I grew up in the same household, so it kind of checks out that if I didn't, my brother definitely got married. My sister, like, loved him and knew she wanted to be with him, but, like, it took her a while longer to get there, and I'm like, it's not happening. So, like, you can kind of see the progression through our childhoods. But because he wanted to get married more, I felt comfortable choosing the stupid cake topper where the bride is dragging the groom. And my sister is such a loving sister that she was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
This is not related to that story at all necessarily, but one time I accidentally went to a wedding of 2 people I did not know.
Ooh.
So
Wedding Crashers, it's a movie, right?
Yes.
Anyway, go on.
I did not crash this wedding. There were a lot of people at this wedding that these people presumably did not know. As I've mentioned on the podcast, well, no, it's not like this was something I wouldn't still do. I was going to say I used to be more religious than I am now. This was like probably right before I graduated from college. Anyway, it was St. Joseph's Day, and St. Joseph is my confirmation patron saint. So I went to church. I went to the cathedral downtown. So, they were just having an ordinary mass. And then all of a sudden in the middle of it, well, not in the middle of the mass exactly, but during the, service, the priest kind of motioned toward someone in the crowd, and these two just very normal, I mean, nicely dressed, but not dressed in any unusual way. People, a man and a woman, came to just in front of the altar, and then, you know, I don't know if it was their parents or just witnesses or what, but came down and stood with them. And then the priest just married them. He was like, today we're going to marry this man and this woman. And he said their names. It wasn't just like, we're going to marry these two randos.
This bitch and this ass, yeah.
We just picked two random people from the audience. We're going to marry them today. Catholicism. Anyway, no, we don't do that. But yeah, they just got married in the middle of a regular St. Joseph's Day Mass. And then they went back and sat down, and the rest of the thing went along as it had been. But I had never experienced anything like that before. And, you know, I've known a lot of Catholics in my life, and granted, I haven't told every Catholic person I know this story, but the ones that I've talked to about it have been like, huh, okay. Like I've never experienced that either.
Like, instead of a flash mob, it's a flash wedding.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm sure they had some sort of arrangement with the priest. And to get married in the Catholic Church, you have to go through, it's what's called a pre-Cana period, where you like prepare for marriage by meeting with a priest, and you have to, you know, do all this counseling and stuff. So I'm sure that they didn't just randomly decide to do this one day, but I guess they just wanted, I mean, maybe it's the most Catholic way to elope. I don't really know. But it was interesting.
We might have talked about this in the religion episode, but do Catholic priests get married? Are they allowed to get married?
No.
So they don't experience marriage, but they have to like clear you guys for it. Like, you have to be counseled through a man who's never been married.
Yeah, but it's not like psychological counseling exactly. Like, it's more spiritual counseling. They do suggest that you go to I think my understanding is that they suggest that you go to a licensed therapist and like, you know, do counseling that way as well.
Okay.
But I don't think it's a mandatory part of it. But yeah, I don't think he's trying to do the job of like a counselor or psychologist exactly. I think he's just trying to like guide them to being closer to each other in the Lord, you know. I've never been married, so I have no idea.
Because I'm ordained, I can totally do that, right? Like, I can just invite people who want me to like officiate their weddings over to the apartment. I just like pop down, pop some popcorn, just sit there and be like, so, you two, really? You think this is gonna work, really?
I mean, I don't see why you couldn't do that.
I'm gonna do that.
But I think you would have to make it very clear to them that you're not a licensed counselor in any way. And also, you wouldn't want to do it for Catholics because they would need to know that you're not a priest.
I don't think I need to like really specify that I'm not a licensed therapist of any kind, because if it ever comes up, I can just be like, do you see a diploma on these walls? No. So I don't know what gave you the idea that I was licensed for this. I'm certainly never going to say that I am, but they don't need to hear that I'm not, you know? I'm just here to eat popcorn and poke holes in the marriage. Oh my god, what if I fall in love with one of them? I'm just assuming they're both men. What if I fall in love with one of them? Oh my god, what if I decide if I want to break them up so I can keep one? Oh my god, I can't believe I'm in this situation. What do I do?
Is this a segue?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is me freaking out about my future, Timothy.
Oh, sorry.
How do I choose which one to love?
Do you plan on, or do you think about it at all, officiating weddings, more of them in the future?
That depends. If I'm found guilty of murder, I won't be available to officiate weddings.
Or for much.
No, yeah, one person has already asked me, and then that relationship did not work out. So I did not officiate that wedding, because there was no wedding. And someone else asked me, but they asked me in 2019 for 2020, and then everything ended in 2020. They were like just about to start planning their wedding, and then the world ended, and it was like, well, let's not bother planning anything. So now I assume I will still officiate that, but we haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know when they're going to revisit that. But outside of those things, I mean, if anyone asked me, I'd definitely do it. I'll never. I considered it for like half a second when I got ordained, because I would not be the only actor who is ordained and does that as like a side job.
Right.
So I considered it for a second, but I was like, no. While it would make for a great rom-com, a man who does not believe in marriage but does perform marriages, while it would make for a great rom-com, I don't think it would make for a life that I'm particularly interested in leading.
Oh, sure.
But like, if people want me to, I'll definitely do it. I have offered it before to people I barely knew. A couple of my castmates in a show a few years ago were getting married, and then I don't remember if it was like at the last minute the person who was supposed to marry them like had to back out for some reason or what. But there's a situation in which they were like, "What are we gonna do?" And I was like, "If you need me, I can do it." And then they were like, "Thank you so much. We're actually talking to someone else if they can't do it though." And then they could. So like, I have offered it, but I wouldn't. That was because they sounded upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, sure. If people ask me, I'll do it.
Would you ever consider doing it for complete strangers?
Sure. I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't, but I also don't know how I would get in that situation.
Yeah. If people write in to bother us at canibotheryou.com asking you to marry them, will you do it?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. Legally binding. Not without the marriage license, but...
Right. Interesting. What a life you lead, AJ.
You too. You know things about Catholic marriage. And I'm like, what?
Well, I am a Catholic.
You used a phrase earlier. I mean, technically I'm a Catholic. I don't really know how it works, but like, I'm not a Catholic.
Well, you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, God knows your heart and you do too, but I don't think
there's no
so.
God.
I mean, you haven't been baptized.
Okay.
You don't believe in Catholicism.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, like, we're setting aside the fact that I am not religious at all, and I would not call myself Catholic. My family is Catholic.
That's true.
I mean, I wouldn't... This isn't the appropriate way to phrase it, but, like, I was raised Catholic. I mean, we didn't go to church or anything, but, like, they were Catholic, so it was expected that I was Catholic, you know?
Uh-huh. You were, like, culturally Catholic.
There we go. Yeah, sure, that. But, yeah, I was never baptized or anything, so I'm like, am I Catholic? Or...
Not officially.
Okay, cool.
So you can do whatever you want.
Great, love that. But anyway, the point is that my family was Catholic. My family's Catholic. They weren't, was, they is Catholic. And like, I don't know, because you threw out some term earlier, the term for the counseling, precana something or other. Precana. What a pretty sound. I'm just here to insult things.
Well, it's named after the wedding at Cana. You know, the Bible story where Jesus turns water into wine.
I don't know her.
You don't know Jesus? And you're not respecting his pronouns?
That story.
Oh, okay.
You said, do you know the story? And then you said whatever it was. I wasn't listening. Anyway, no. But my point is that, like, you said something about my life, and now I'm like, you know words. I don't know words. Words aren't for me. I don't know them. I don't know her.
Incorrect.
Anyway, tell me another story.
This story sort of involves you, AJ, even though you weren't at this wedding.
Intrigue.
So you'll figure out what it is very quickly. But this one time, actually maybe more than one time, AJ, myself, and the oft-mentioned Emma went to a gay bar in Austin where karaoke was a frequent occurrence. And do you know where this is going now?
No, keep going.
There was this... He gets it now.
Now I know. Yeah, keep going.
There was a karaoke performer who would often, the several times that we saw him, perform Lady Gaga karaoke, but he would change the lyrics and make them more sexual, which, I mean, they already kind of were, but, you know, you make them a little naughtier. And so we thought that this was very entertaining. I don't remember all our exact thoughts, but anyway. But then the oft-mentioned Emma took me to a wedding as her +1, where we were seated at the same table as this person that we did not know, but we knew who he was. And
small world.
Yeah, and he thought that it was really funny that we had seen him perform, and then we complimented him, and you know, gabbed and gossiped and had fun. By the way, for those keeping track at home, I believe I'm at 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, I'm at 16 right now.
Jeez.
There might be more, but those are the ones I can think of right now.
There was another wedding that I was in, that I'm supposed to be in. My friend Katie is getting married. They were going to get married last November 2020, but the world. And so now they've pushed it to this November, as long as, things are okay. And so I'm going to be a bridesman in that. I need to buy my suit. I still haven't done that, and it's already May, so I should probably get on that. I was shopping for it, last year, and then, when everything got canceled, I was like, well, I'll just wait. We don't know when we're going to reschedule. Now that we know, I should probably get on that, though. I don't think she listens to the podcast, so I can talk about how I'm not doing anything.
And I'm doing nothing to prepare for my role as a rando in the audience.
Yeah, that's assuming you're still going to get invited. That's not supposed to be a burn, but I mean,
because they're keeping it smaller.
I don't know. Because, we don't know what the world's going to look like in November.
That's true.
So, if there's suddenly an outbreak then or something, I mean, I don't know.
They would have to rescind my invitation. Not that they can't do that. That's their right. But I'm just saying. They would have to revoke it.
We were also supposed to learn how to waltz, but I wonder if we're still going to do that because... Yeah, social distancing. Huh. Anyway, if that's able to happen, that's the only wedding in my foreseeable future. I don't know.
Oh, but I hope it happens.
Me too. I'd hate to have to push it back another year. I think they really want to do November, so yeah.
And they're a lovely couple. I just want to see them happy.
They're fine. I don't know how traditional their wedding's going to be, but as long as they keep the part where the officiant asks for objections, I'm fine.
Did you do that in the wedding that you officiated?
No. The wedding I officiated had 12 people there, including me, the bride, and the groom. There were 12 of us there. I mean, it's their wedding. They can do whatever they want. But their whole thing was that they wanted it to just be family and just his mom and his sister. And then everyone else was just friends, and we were in the wedding. I was officiating. Our friend, primarily Jordan's friend, but our friend Jessica was playing music. She's playing her violin, I think. But yeah, that's they wanted to keep it super small, so they were like, okay, just these 4 people in the audience, and everyone else is our friends. They're just in the wedding.
That's funny.
Yeah. I already forgot what your question was, but...
You know what? I think I might have, too.
I love that for us.
Oh, about the objection. Asking if anybody has any objections.
Right, yeah, no, I didn't keep that part in. One part that I do kind of feel bad about, though, I don't think I've actually talked to them about this, but, naturally, so it's Jordan, my friends Jordan and William, and they're both absolutely amazing. They love each other so much, but William's just he loves her so much, and it's so cute and weird. Not that she's not lovable, but it's just he was so nervous the day of. She was too, but he was much more visibly nervous.
Yeah.
And so when it was time to get to the vows, they wrote their own vows. I kind of felt bad about how I passed it to him, because I was basically talk, do your vows now. What the fuck? I didn't say that. But
what did you say something?
I don't remember what I said, but I felt what was conveyed, maybe what my tone said was William, fucking talk now, damn, because he was oh right, and he he flinched, he jumped and pulled his vows out of his pocket, and I was sorry. That was probably just a combination of it being, maybe it felt too sudden to him, and he was just kind of nervous. He was lost in Jordan's eyes. I can't blame him, but I do kind of feel bad, because I'm maybe I should have I don't know, maybe I could have, I don't know, polite, I don't know. I really don't know what I could have done differently, because honestly, I don't think I did anything wrong. But, he jumped, and I felt bad. I don't want to make you jump at your wedding. You've got enough going on.
You're already leaping into marriage.
You're already losing the rest of your life.
Wow.
I'm kidding. If I honestly believed that, I wouldn't have married them.
Yes, I know.
All right, so... Now that I have ruined the evening and made it awkward, I think it's about time we start wrapping up and leave the people with that.
Well, even though we're leaving you with that doesn't mean you have to leave us. You can find us on all the socials at Can I Bother You on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Ko-fi as well. If you'd like to support us monetarily, all of that would mean a great deal to us, especially the money. I'm being silly. Also, if you would like to be married to wisdom, you can seek our advice by emailing botherus@canibotheryou.com or dropping into the DMs on our aforementioned socials. If you are interested in my non-aforementioned socials, you can find me at TCJDV on Twitter and Facebook, and at Tomatio88 on Instagram. AJ, where can they find you?
I can be found at AJReyesF13 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and YouTube, which I dropped the ball on, but we're not talking about that right now. Y'all let it go. Just let it go. What you don't want to let go, though, is your love for Can I Bother You. Keep that tight in your heart and share it with the world in a review on whatever podcatcher you're listening to us from. And if you want to leave us 5 stars on Apple and rate us highly anywhere else that takes ratings, I don't know enough about podcatchers. I don't know. I listen on Spotify and there's no rating system.
Oh,
which
really?
is stupid. Yeah, I have to go to Apple to rate it. But anyway, if you love us enough to go to Apple and give us 5 stars, you should leave a review so we know you did it and we can, like, thank you. And
What if they only love us 4 stars?
if they only love us 4 stars, they're already dead to us. So, you should subscribe also and follow us from wherever you're listening from, because Timothy brings the love and I bring the hate and all the other joys of the world.
Hate is a joy now?
When wasn't it? We have to go. I have to educate Timothy. Okay, bye.
Bye!